right, welcome back. Yesterday we had a wonderful ceremony. You know, they asked me to go to the ceremony. I'm like, I don't want to go to the ceremony. And they're like, please. And I'm like, oh, can I just go for 1 minute? And they're like, okay. And then I went to the ceremony, and it was so much fun, I stayed. And I had a good time, which is unusual. So we we consecrated the first stupa yesterday. And we have some photos for you guys online. People read the whole Good Name, I think. Good Name's prayers, 8 prayers. That was a lot of fun. This was a little piece of stupa that everybody got. Yay! And thank you to all the sponsors. And we had, the two main people, which is Venerable Sunam and Hanli, were there yesterday, who worked for years to get the stupas done. They are pure marble, which is very, very difficult, very, very expensive. The marble was fashioned in Portugal with lasers, and only the Portuguese know how to do the marble right. And so they finished the first one, and we consecrated it yesterday. We got 6 more to go, or 7. 6 more. And the biggest sponsor, who everybody knows, Dr. Wu, has asked me and the board if we could make the final stupa. We'd like to make the final stupa up above high. We'd like to make it about double height. Or double height, I can say? Yeah. 3 times higher. And it'll have a special room inside where you can meditate. We think about, 7 to 10 people can meditate inside the stupa. So that's this grand plan we have. And so we'd like to thank everyone. It's been a big expense. Sometimes I'm a little bit doubt that we should spend so much money. But these things last for centuries. And I think all of us have visited great stupas in Indonesia or China, India, and they last way, way beyond our life. And they inspire people for many generations. And I think there will be blessings in these stupas, not just to have a place of, where people worship, but where people learn the teachings also. And so that's the goal of these stupas, that should last for thousands of years, but also the teachings connected with the stupa should last. So that's the goal, and it was very, very beautiful yesterday. Thank you all the sponsors for this. And thank you the hard work of the Diamond Mountain staff, especially Sunam and Hanli. They had endless headaches. The mine behind Diamond Mountain, where the marble is taken out of, it hasn't been active for 100 years, and they really opened it back up. And it's kind of a big blessing, because that marble extends into Diamond Mountain. It goes about 2,000 feet deep, so it's cool. All right, let's get to work. You guys ready? Friends, me and Francisco every morning we're like, you got the same one that I do? Yeah, that's good. Okay. This is about the prayers of Good Name, whose stupa we opened yesterday. he made prayers. He made 8 prayers, and for people in the future, and he prayed that he could that people's poverty or problems with your finances, let's put it that way, that he made a prayer that if you say his name at least 7 times a day or something, then you would be released from poverty. And we started talking about it yesterday, and we mentioned a book by Dharmakirti, Pramanavartika, the root text on accurate perception. And in that book, they claim that the Buddhists have reached the perfection of other people's goals and their own goals. And then there's a bitter debate in the monastery. I understand that the Buddha maybe has reached their own goals, but I don't see how you can say that they have perfected other people's goals, because we can see there's lots of poor people left in the world. How can you say the Buddha is perfect if there's still poor people in the world? I mean, how can you say their work is, how can you say they are a final Buddha if there's still poor people in the world, And that's a huge debate. And we could debate it, and I mean, we debated it for a month in the monastery, like many, many hours. But the bottom line is they do destroy poverty because they destroy the misunderstanding which creates poverty, okay? And that's a very, it's a sign of our own misunderstanding. You say, do I have the first link of the wheel of life? We talked about it in words class, I think. Do I possess the first link of the 12 links of the suffering wheel of life? And there's a test you can do, self-test, like a self-COVID test or something. And you can do a test on yourself. And it is how willing are you to give? How willing are you to give away what you have? Are you willing to give away what you have? And me, Rob Russinger and his Seiji Noor, I called them before I came to Diamond Mountain. I said, I'm going to Diamond Mountain. And they're like, yeah, we know. Because we take money out of the company. We take money out of our company. And we donate it. So we try to, there's a bad word in English. Can I say it? No. My wife doesn't like it. Is there a better way to say that? It's like when you take a needle and you poke somebody in the butt, and it like wake them up, So I need the needle to poke the donations in the butt, and that's the money that I bring here. So I'm like, do we have any extra money in the company? Can we kind of, what do you call it, blackmail people to donate? And then I get to a point where they say, yeah, you can do that, but it's going to be a hard year next year. You won't have any money next year, or the company will be short on money next year. And then if you want to check your own level of misunderstanding, okay? Do you want to check if you have link number 1 in your heart or not? It's how much do you hesitate when it comes, it's easy to donate your extra money. And then it comes down to your real money. And then you're like, I don't know, And that's a sign of link number 1, okay? If you want to know if you have link number 1. Because that hesitation believes that if you give the last amount, you won't have anything. And that's total ignorance. That's total ignorance, okay? If you don't give the last amount, that's when you start having financial problems, you know what I mean? When you hesitate. You are hesitating to give, in my case, and I also hesitate. I give away the extra that we have. But when you get down to the company money, I'm like, I don't know. And if that's a sign that you have link number 1 in your heart, okay? That hesitation because you believe you won't get it back, or you don't believe you're going to get 10 times more, okay? So that's a sign that you don't understand the Dharma, okay? If you had perfected giving, right, sharing, you give everything, because you know you're just going to get more. You see, when you hesitate, you get back less. When you don't hesitate, you get back more. Okay. By the way, if you don't hesitate and give, and then hesitate later, that's a disaster. Okay, all right. That cancels the whole positive samsara. You know, like. Okay, I'll say it again. If you decide to give till it hurts, right? Because you understand this is how to make money. But then you doubt 3 days later. You're like, man, Geshe-la's so persuasive. And I gave all my last money and oh, stupid. You know, when you doubt at the end, then you hurt the karma. Okay, so if you're not ready, don't do it. Okay, but if you understand it, then do it and don't doubt it. Okay, and it'll come back more. And I'm just saying, I'm not trying to get money out of you. I'm trying to talk to Geshe Michael. A lot of my teaching is for Geshe Michael. He needs it. So I'm like, don't forget where your money comes from. Come on, you can do it, you know. And if I had a lot of sleep, I believe him. And if I didn't have a lot of sleep, I don't believe him. Okay. So stupid, right? Anyway, has the Buddha overcome poverty? Yes. Does the world still have poor people? Yes. Okay. No contradiction. No contradiction. What do they see the world? We don't know. Probably they don't see poor people. And then there's another question that comes from that, and I'm going to talk about it later. Okay. All right. Next slide, Francisco. You're having a good day. Okay. And thank you again, all you tech guys. You guys don't get to see them. I get to see them all day. And it's really beautiful. It's like the 8 medicine Buddhists or something. You know, I get to look at them all during the class. And they're cool people, and they're very generous with their time, and we should give them a hand. And some of them have been doing it for a long, long time. Gina's been designing our books and all of our prayer books and stuff for many years. And thank you for that. Yay, please live long life. Okay, here's a question from Nagarjuna, okay? And when we started the program, we had 6 chapters left. And Grandpa foolishly thought he's going to finish 6 chapters. And we're going to finish 2 chapters. And then I'm sorry, we have to keep going in the other program. So we're covering this chapter. What is it? Last chapter was an investigation of Tathagata, the ones gone thus. And this one is an investigation of negative emotions. Okay, we're still in that chapter, okay? Chapter 24. Then we still have 25, 26, 27 to do, okay? So we're in 24. Say again? Oh, I'm sorry. He miswrote it here. I think hang on one second. I think we're in 24 now. I'm sorry. Yeah. What is 24? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're in 24, which is an investigation of the 4 higher truths. And now he says, if neither the Dharma nor the community exist, then how can the Buddha exist? If you talk about emptiness the way you are, then you are hurting the whole idea of the 3 jewels, okay? So I'd like to talk about the 3 jewels. And, you know, I went to my teacher, straight from Princeton, and I went directly on graduation. The day after graduation, I went to my teacher, and my professor handed me over to my lama and said, take good care of him, you know. And he drove me there. So anyway, I came out of a Christian background. I was living at the university. The last year of the university, I didn't have any money at all. I didn't have enough money to stay in the dormitory. So I had to find a room somewhere, and I stayed in the Christian church. So I was friends with the priest, you know. So they let me. My religion was Episcopal, and the priest can marry, and they had kids, and so I was a babysitter for the priest's kids, you know. And they gave me a room in the church, and then one day I'm in the Christian church sleeping there, and then the next day I'm at this Buddhist temple, Kalmyk Mongolians, and there's a lot of differences. There were a lot of differences, and one of them was the Trinity. Okay, where I grew up, in Christian religion, they say God has three parts. They say Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Okay, so Father is like this invisible big guy somewhere, and Son is Jesus Christ, and then Holy Ghost is, I don't know, it's like the spirit of the whole thing, you know. And so I grew up with these three dudes, you know, tres hombres, and I'm comfortable with this idea, you know. I grew up with that since I was a little kid, and then I come to the next day, I'm in the Kalmyk Mongolian temple, and my teacher's like, it's three, okay? It's three guys. I'm like, good. You know, I can understand that, you know. And he said, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Okay? And I'm like, great, that fits, you know. And then slowly I realized they're not the same at all, okay? Slowly I understand what's the three jewels, right? But I want to say, I think a lot of Buddhists think that the three jewels are like the Trinity or the three parts of Christianity. I think a lot of Buddhists think that the three jewels are three guys somewhere, and you have to be nice to them or they won't be good to you. Because that's kind of what we learned in the Christian church. By the way, which I don't think is the essence of Christianity. I think real Christians are practicing much deeper. But there's a common idea that there's three guys. And then in Buddhism, I think there's a common idea that there's three guys, you know, and you have to be nice to them or something like that. And then in the Geshe course, one of the earliest topics, Abhisamalankara, which is what Tim is translating, and by the way, we spent 12 years on it. The first 12 years of the Geshe course, half the Geshe course is one small book, and that's the one that Tim is translating. And they talk about the three jewels. Who is the three jewels? Okay, and what does it mean in Buddhism when you take refuge? Say, I go for refuge. Buddham saragam gacchami, dharmam samagam gacchami, sangam saranam gacchami. This is ancient going for refuge in Sanskrit or Pali. These are, you know, I go for refuge. So what does it mean to go for refuge to the three jewels? Who are the three jewels? And I love that topic. I was blown away. I was so amazed when I read in the Geshe course when we studied the three guys. I'm like, wow, that's completely different, you know, from what I was thinking, you know. And I was so impressed, I made it ACI course number 2. 2 or 3? 2. Yeah. And I'll summarize it for you here, because it comes in Nagarjuna. Okay, Nagarjuna is talking about it. Okay. And he says, this is half the verses in his most famous book, are the other guy talking, okay? Half the verses in wisdom are criticism from the other guy, okay? And sometimes it's hard to tell who's talking. You're like, that sounds great. And then the commentary says, this is the stupid guy. And you're like, oh yeah, I knew that. So he says, if the Dharma, so it's the other guy talking, okay? This is a Telnger. This is a prasangika. This is a sarcasm from the other guy. So Dharma's empty? Yes. Sangha is empty? Yes. Okay, then they don't exist. Then how's there a Buddha? That's the other guy talking, okay? It's called a statement of consequence, prasangika. It means if you tell me a wrong thing, like the Dharma has no nature of its own, and the Sangha or the community has no nature of its own, then I say, well, okay, then there's no Buddha. Okay, that's a sarcastic response. Okay, if you don't know about it, get married. Your wife will say, oh, so that means, we do, anyway. So, this is the other guy talking, okay? If there's no Dharma, and if there's no Sangha, then I guess there's no Buddha. I'll give $100 if you can tell me what he's thinking. And it's not obvious. You have to think about it. $100. I'll say it again. He says, if the first two jewels don't exist, okay? Well, sorry, if jewel number 2 and jewel number 3 don't exist, if there's no Dharma and there's no community, no Sangha, then how can there be a Buddha? He said that. Why is he thinking like that? What's the relationship between Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha? And don't say what you're thinking. Think deeper. Think deeper.
I think that this guy is thinking that nothing is real, but it is a consequence of misunderstanding, and therefore he thinks that nothing exists at all, which is wrong, because there is Dharma, there is Sangha, and there is Buddha.
It's a good guess, and it's not the right one. Okay. And I'll say it again. He says, his prasangika, his statement of consequence, he's like, if there's no Dharma and there's no community, then how can there be a Buddha? That's his statement. Okay.
I think this is one of the extremes of the higher middle way.
Say it again?
Nihilism. This is going into the nihilism side.
It's going, I'm sorry.
What do you call it? Nihilism?
Oh, nihilism. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's okay. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to give me a correct answer, I'll give you a clue. He's saying there's a relationship between the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. And if these don't exist, then this one can't exist. What's he mean?
If there's no understanding of emptiness and there's no one who's seen emptiness directly, then there can't be a Buddha.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll buy it. Okay, okay. But I'll say it a little differently, okay? If I was in my Christian days, right? If I was in my Christian days. And by the way, I deeply follow both. I think they're very beautiful. I learned many good things in the church, and I love them, and I keep them. But in that Trinity, in that gang of 3 guys, in that model, Buddha made the Dharma and Sangha. You see what I mean? Buddha designed the Dharma and Sangha. Okay, so if Dharma and Sangha don't exist, then what's the purpose of a Buddha? There's no need for Buddha. If there's no community, and if there's no realizations or teachings, then why you need a Buddha? And Nagarjuna disagrees with me. Nagarjuna says, don't think like that. Don't think like the Christian three. It's not like that. He wants to flip it around. Nagarjuna wants to flip it. What's that? If there's no Dharma and Sangha, how do you create a Buddha? You see what I mean? When you grow up in the Christian church, the model would be Buddha worked hard and made a teaching, and because of the teaching, a community exists, okay? And the Nagarjuna says, don't think like that. Dharma came, community came, and they created Buddhas. You know, it's very interesting. That's what you said, right, Rebecca? She's like, okay, so, when he says here, if there's no Dharma and there's no community, then how can you have a Buddha? It means the next Buddha. You see what I mean? If there's no teaching and there's no people that follow the teaching, how could you have a Buddha? Now, who's talking? Who's asking the question? The other guy. He's attacking us. You said there's no Dharma. You said there's no Sangha. So how do you say you can get Buddhas? Because they come from the Dharma and the Sangha. Who's talking? The other guy. Then we should say, by the way, the answer to a statement of consequence is, I never said there's no Dharma. I never said there's no Sangha. What are you talking about? And he says, yes, it is. You did say that. You said they were empty. You said the teachings were empty. You said the people practicing the teachings are empty. Therefore, there can be no Buddhas created by those two guys. Because they're empty. Empty means they don't exist. And we're like, oi! In the diamond business, diamond business is all Jewish. Everybody's like, oi! Oi, you're so stupid. That's not how you make a Buddha, okay? That's not what we mean when we say empty. We don't mean they don't exist. We just mean they don't exist without my seeds. That's all. We never said there's no Dharma. We never said there's no Sangha. We never said that. If we did say that, maybe you're right. Okay? But you're not right. The other guy's never right. By the way, Sugeng knows this. Okay, now, I'll say the second half of the verse. You tell me who's talking. Okay, who's talking? If you talk about emptiness the way you're talking about emptiness, it hurts the whole idea of the three jewels. I don't know, it could be Nagarjuna, it could be the other guy. Don't forget the other guy is saying, if Nagarjuna, if you keep insisting that everything is empty, you're going to destroy the three jewels. Okay? Because you're destroying the two that create the third. Okay? You're destroying the two that create the third. Therefore, there could be no jewel. There could be no three jewels. When I had this breakthrough in the Geshe course, and they taught me what's really the three jewels, I was like, wow. I was like, wow. Because every one of the three jewels is emptiness. And I was like, it just blew me away, I'm not supposed to go, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, please help me, I'm not supposed to say that. I'm supposed to say, Buddha is emptiness, Dharma is emptiness, Sangha is emptiness, thank you very much. Stuff like that, That's worship. That's religion in Buddhism. It's not go to the temple and make prostrations and things like that. It's not stupas, okay? That's not Buddhism. Buddhism is emptiness in three packages. Buddhism is emptiness in 3 packages. Later you can quote me. Okay, you should put that in the book of Geshe Michael's. Buddha is emptiness in 3 different packages. Now, I'll give $100 if somebody can tell me why. And by the way, this is a test to see if you passed ACI course number 2. If you can tell me why is the 3 jewels all connected with emptiness? And Ines gonna take a shot. Okay. Talk loud, okay, and slow. Don't forget you're being translated.
We do not talk here about the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We talk here about the jewel of the Buddha, the jewel of the Dharma, and the jewel of the Sangha. The jewel of the Buddha is emptiness of the Dharmakaya.
Wow, excellent.
Emptiness of the Buddha.
Wait, say it again. The jewel of the Buddha
The jewel of the Buddha
is the emptiness of the
is
Buddha.
the emptiness of the Buddha. And this is the only thing that is common between us and them.
Okay.
So it's actually, we are feasible, it's feasibility. We can become Buddhas.
Yeah.
Second is the jewel of the Dharma is the, actually, the realizations that we get on the past, meaning seeing emptiness directly,
Yeah.
Reaching nirvana and Buddhahood.
Nice.
Anything else?
Whoa, hot.
So it is actually the fact that we can reach something on the past. There is a path. And the jewel of the Sangha is the realizations in the minds of the community, Aryas, and realized beings. So it actually, from the other side, it confirms that the teachings do work.
So I would say that's a $300 answer to Yeah, and you gotta get used to it, okay? We don't build a stupa so you can go pray to it or something like that. We're not praying to a piece of rock, you know? No, and you have to be careful with stupas. You have to be careful with stupas, okay? You are not worshiping a stupa. There's lots of mountains here. They're much bigger, cheaper. You can pray to them if you want, okay? So when you pray to Buddha, you're actually praying to the emptiness of a Buddha, okay? The Buddha, nothing about the Buddha is coming from their own side. When you meet a Buddha, they are coming from you. They're coming from you. And if you don't understand that, you are worshiping the Buddha the wrong way. Okay? And so I'd say in the history of Buddhism, there's probably very few people who were practicing Buddhism. Okay? There's very few people who understood that. Okay? I'm not bowing down to some guy. I'm bowing down to the fact that he comes from me. Okay? That's very deep. I was so happy when I learned that, you know. Dharma then is the understanding that he's coming from me, okay? That's the teaching. That's the real teaching. You tend to think of Dharma as books or translations, and it's not. It's just to understand the pen is Dharma. People who understand the pen are taking refuge in Dharma. And only them. And the millions and millions of other Buddhists don't know what the heck they're doing. Okay, they're not practicing Buddhism. Okay, and then Sangha, people who got it, people who understood about the pen. Okay, and classically, they should have seen emptiness directly, but then Buddhism becomes a very lonely thing. So I think we can say anyone who understands about the pen. Maybe we should call ourselves panists and not Buddhists. Are you a panist? Yeah. Well, from Pennsylvania panist? You're P-E-N-N. Okay. Anyway, that's the big teaching here, okay? And Nagarjuna is like the seed for that idea that came for the next 2,000 years after him, okay? He triggered this understanding of religion, okay? That's Buddhism. And to bow down to a statue or to walk around a stupa is not Buddhism. Okay? Unless you're thinking about seeds while you're walking. Okay? Unless you're thinking about seeds. So hopefully, our stupas will attract penance and not superstition. The rest is superstition. And it leads to disappointment. Why? They cannot help you. They cannot help you. You can pray to Buddha all day, you won't make 10 cents. You know, they get, when you pray to them, they get very cheap. You know, it doesn't work. Okay? And then you get countless people living their whole life in doubt and disappointment. And it applies to Christianity and Buddhism. If you don't understand it, you're just gonna see your family die off, and you're gonna see, you know, war, and say, how can God allow this? You know, how can this, why is Buddha allow this killing this morning in Gaza or Ukraine? Why? You know, otherwise you're gonna give it up. You're gonna give up. So many people, millions of people, give up religion because it doesn't make sense. Those are the smart ones. Okay, those are the ones they don't want to believe superstition. And they're like, this doesn't help anybody. You see what I mean? Millions of people give it up because they don't understand it. They don't understand this verse, okay? Penism, okay? Let's get a copyright on that right away. Okay, okay, next one. This is why we go so slow, Geshe. Yeah, 5.49, Francisco. This is by the way, this is a book I wrote in 3-year retreat. You probably know about it. I was gonna write a major commentary to the Yoga Sutra. I got 800 pages finished. I sneaked it out of retreat to my publisher in New York, and he sneaked me a letter back and said, it's too long, throw it out. And then I wrote this book, okay? And it's a short book about the Yoga Sutra, right? And the essence of the book, one of the themes of the book is that there's a young lady 1,000 years ago who actually became a Geshe secretly, right? And she gets put into a prison wrongly. She's accused of stealing a book because in those days, a woman shouldn't have a book. There's no reason because they're not allowed to read. So anyway, and then the whole, one of the themes of the book is that the inside of the prison becomes the outside of the prison. And it's only the people in the prison who are free. And if you're not in the jail, you are in jail. Okay? If you're not in the jail, you are in jail. She creates freedom inside the jail. And all the people who didn't get to go to the jail are not free. They don't have freedom, okay? Why are we talking about that? Why is Geshe talking about that? Does Geshe have ADD? Does Nagarjuna just skip from subject to subject, you know? Why am I talking about jails? In the prayers of good name. Huh? Yeah, it's one of his 8 prayers. One of his 8 prayers. In the future, if somebody repeats my name 7 times, at least 7 times, probably 7 million times, they should never stay in a jail. They should never have to stay in a jail. So I like this prayer. I really like this prayer because, you know, we pray for poor people, we pray for sick people, but, you know, if you have done work in a prison, if you have taught in a prison, that's unbelievable suffering there, incredible suffering there, okay? It's a special, special suffering. And nobody thinks much about it because the people there are bad people. So we don't care, What's one of the saddest places in the whole world is inside the prison. And then people, in their heart, they say, that's okay. They killed somebody, they should suffer. Or they stole money, they should suffer, like that. I mean, we don't feel compassion about people in prison. We feel like, oh, they put themselves there. They should stay there, But we had a group here, and we taught in the prison near Tucson. And we taught for many years. I think we taught for 15 years there. And it's quite an experience. You need a special training. The government train you to go into the prison. And then you need a lot of security clearances. And there's many, many rules to teach in the prison. To go into the prison to teach, there's many rules. So we did it. We got all the permission. We had all this training to go into. Why the training? Just before our program, there was another program by a Christian lady, and the prisoner, the handsome prisoner, convinced her that he didn't do a crime, and she should help him to escape. So she's teaching in the prison, and he's very handsome, and I think she fell in love with him. And she believed his story, and the story is always the same in the prison. I was just standing there, the police grabbed me, I didn't do anything, and it's always the same story. Sometimes it's true. Most of the time it's not true. And she believed it. Then she brought him some clothes. They tried to escape together. The prison people are not stupid. And she went to prison, okay? Anyway, it's very difficult to teach in the prison, extremely difficult. It's very uncomfortable. The prisoners are angry. They're violent. They work out all day. They're strong. And, they could, one day they told us, you're supposed to come next Tuesday, right? We're like, yeah. And they said, don't come. We're like, what? And they said, do not come next Tuesday. Stay home. And we're like, thanks. And, and the next Tuesday they had a riot. And the prisoners took over the jail, and it happens like that. They plan it like 6 weeks ahead or something. And so it's dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be. But, and it for us, the reason we don't do it anymore is when we all moved to Sedona, it's a 4-hour drive one way. It's 8 hours driving to go teach in the prison, and we just couldn't do it. We just couldn't keep it up, so. But I say one thing, when you come out of the prison from teaching prisoners, and you smell the fresh air on the other side of the fence, you feel so happy. When you teach prisoners, you feel extreme joy, after you do it. And, you get out of the jail, and they have to go through 3 gates. 3 guys check you. And then you go out, and you're like, I'm glad I don't live in there. And then you're like, I'm so glad I'm doing this, I'm so glad I'm helping prisoners. And so if you have a chance, it's a great, great thing to do, okay, in your own country. It's pretty easy to make a course. It's pretty easy to get into the prison. Make sure you can get out. And it's extremely happy feeling to help them, because prisoners are the most unhappy people in the world. They are the most unhappy people in the world. There's something very, very bad feeling when your society tells you, we hate you and we don't want to see you. You see what I mean? It's like 10 million people are telling you, I hate you. I don't care if I never see you again. I'm going to put you in a room and I don't want to see you. And I'm going to forget about you. In English, they say, I'm going to throw away the key. And it's such a terrible feeling to War is very similar. War is very, very similar. What is trauma in war? What is trauma? It means somebody wants you gone from this earth. Somebody wants to take your life. Someone wants to kill you. Someone hates you so much, they want you to disappear from this world. And when you have that feeling for the first time, you know, you really are a soldier and somebody tries to kill you and you're like, there's one person in this world who hates me so much, they want me to disappear from this world forever. And that's what creates trauma in a war. Someone wants me not to exist in this world. And it's the worst feeling. It's the most terrible feeling. Someone doesn't want me to exist. Someone wants a world without me. Someone will prefer a world without me. That's what trauma comes in a war. It's when you finally, someone shoots at you. I had someone shoot at me once, and then you're like, wow, somebody doesn't want me to exist in this world. And the feeling is the worst feeling, you know. And prison is very, very similar. Someone doesn't want to see me for 20 years or 30 years. They want me to disappear from this world for 20 years. It's a terrible, 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 psychologically, it's a terrible feeling. All the guys in the prison have this feeling, you know. Everyone hates me. They don't even want to see me for 20 years. It's a terrible, terrible suffering. So this medicine Buddha, good name, I really like it that he's praying for people in prison. I love it. It means he really understands suffering. It's one of the greatest sufferings in life when someone says, I would like to not see you for 20 years, or I would like to kill you. It's a terrible, terrible suffering. So I think this prayer, I love this prayer. Okay, we're going to look at the prayer. You ready, Francisco? There's the prayer, fifth prayer. There are those of us and other living beings as well who are kept in chains and beaten and thrown into prison and whose bodies are hurt by people with all kinds of different weapons. Until the day of their final enlightenment, may all of us be completely free of ever being chained or beaten or anything of the like. May every sort of bodily abuse come to a complete end in this world. That's his fifth prayer. Okay, that's the fifth prayer of good name. And I just want to say I think it's a good prayer to focus on. When you're doing medicine Buddha practice, I don't know, there's so many prayers, dozens of prayers, right? This particular prayer is very attractive to me. I love this prayer because to be put into prison is a special suffering. It's a special suffering. I went to prison briefly. I was protesting against the Vietnam War, and I got put into prison. And it's a great suffering. Okay. So anyway, it's a great prayer, I think, to me. Okay. Later, the government contacted me and said, we made a mistake. I'm like, thanks. They said, we will remove your record. I said, no, I'm proud of it. You can keep it. I'm keeping it. So I still have it, right? They tried to erase it, and I said, no. I'm proud. It's my good karma. I want to keep it. All right, 551 Francisco. Lord Buddha says, if you want to help people in prison, use the two realities. Okay? If you want to help people in prison, use the two realities. So we're moving on to the two realities. Okay? There's two different realities. And we're going to talk about it, okay? And this is a very, very deep subject. Whose book? It came up in somebody's book. It's coming up this week. I think it's coming up in Nick's book. I think. No? It's Kunsop Demba, Dundam Demba, Deceptive Reality and Ultimate Reality. Okay, so Buddhism teaches that reality divides into two realities. Okay, it's called Kunsop Demba and Dundam Demba. Okay, Kunsop Demba means fake reality. And Dundam Dhamma means real reality, okay? Ultimate reality, okay? So Buddhism divides your world into two kinds, fake reality and real reality, okay? You want to go deeper? Yeah. Fake reality has two parts, okay? You ready? Correct fake reality and wrong fake reality. Okay? So we're going to go there. Okay? So let's say it again. And by the way, this is not philosophical BS. I didn't say the real word, okay? This is not just some philosophy, okay? There's no philosophy in the translation classes, for example, that you cannot use in your real life. There's nothing there. It's a joke at the end of the class. Is there anything here you could use in your real life? It's a joke because it is the only thing you could use in your real life. The rest is bullshit, BS. Okay? Everything else you learn in the university or something, that's the BS. This is not the BS, okay? Everything you learn in the translation classes is the only thing that can help you. Forget those other courses, okay? All right, but anyway, I don't say that publicly. So there's I call it 2.5 realities, okay? And this is a deep subject. I'll go for 5 minutes, then we'll take Q&A. Right, Tim? Am I right? Or I go for another 20 minutes? How's it work?
15 minutes left.
Okay, so we'll do Q&A in about 5 minutes, okay? And if I don't finish this topic, we'll finish it in the next class, okay? Is that good, Timothy? Okay. Should I make a bet? I don't know. I mean, my money's getting stretched. I should stop, right? See, there it is. Let's take a bet. So there's ultimate reality, which is emptiness, okay? Ultimate reality. And then there's deceptive reality. And it's interesting, it's real. Both of them are real, okay? Both of them exist, both of them are real, okay? One is what it seems, and the other is not what it seems, okay? But they're both real, and they're both valid, okay? There's two realities. One is ultimate reality, and the other is like relatively reality. It's real, but it's not what it looks like, okay? Anything that, well, that's tricky. Ultimate reality is a double negative. What's that mean? There's nothing that don't come from seeds. Yeah, okay? That's ultimate reality, okay? There's nothing that doesn't come from seeds. That's ultimate reality, okay? You know, everybody says, I want to see emptiness, I want to see emptiness. It's very simple. There's nothing that don't come from seeds, okay? That's bad English, but it's funny, okay? There ain't nothing that don't come from seeds. There's nothing that doesn't come from seeds. That's emptiness, very simple. Guess how am I going to use that? How am I going to use that? How do I use that in my real life? Come on, it's the only thing you can use in your real life, okay? Because what it means is, every irritating person you ever met was a mirror of you. And not partly a mirror, 100% mirror. Not only every irritating person you ever met, every asshole you ever met was coming from you, okay? Not that doesn't say it well enough. Every asshole you ever met is a perfect reflection of you. Okay? Every detail about them is you. Okay? Every little detail how they hurt you is coming from you. It's not that generally they're coming from you or something like that. That's not true. Every single detail, the way they talk, the way they criticize you, the time they criticize you, the way they, everything is, every detail coming exact reflection of you, okay? And there's nothing else in the world. That's emptiness. So don't tell me emptiness is hard to see. Okay? The world is full of irritating people. Okay? They were sent to remind you about emptiness. Okay? They are the Dharma, right? So there was a famous joke here. We had a visitor from I don't know where, and I think they wanted to be a volunteer here or something like that. And they were having a rough time. And it's a hard place to be, by the way. These guys, the people you see who work here, help out here, it's extremely hard place to be. Karmically, it's intense karma to be here. You gotta be a real special person to survive here, karmically. It's because the karma is so heavy. The karma is so high that. So anyway, this person was trying to be a volunteer, and we had a class. They were in the kitchen or something, and we had a class, and we were talking about this subject, that emptiness means there's nothing that doesn't come from you. To put it dependent origination way, to put it the opposite way, everything you see is a reflection of you. The emptiness way, nothing you see is not coming from you. The dependent origination way, everything you see is coming from you. Okay? That's dependent origination. That's the relationship. So anyway, we finished the class. We talked about how everything's coming from you. Every irritating person you ever met is directly coming from you, you know. And then this lady came in, and she was talking. We were all sitting around, and she said, God, this Diamond Mountain place, jeez. And we're like, what? And she says, I'm surrounded by idiots. You know? And we're all like, and we were like, yeah, you're right. You're completely right. All right, any Q&A? Let's do Q&A. By the way, why we have these two books here, we'll come back to it in the next class, okay? There's a special message here. Maybe you remember. It was a long time ago, like 2 days ago. Whose class was that? Allison's class, yeah, okay. All right, Q&A maybe online, Tim? You got any interesting? I have a Q&A. I donated coffee for this program, and this is not it. I think there's some corruption in selling the good coffee. Just kidding.
Rob, you can go first.
Hello? Can you hear me? Related to that, what you were just saying about the person is, I'm surrounded by idiots. And so, sort of when you're in the throes of that, when you're sort of having this understanding that if you are surrounded by idiots and you feel like it's coming from you, how do you deal with that sort of in that time when you feel like it's all on you and there's like this pressure of like, oh my God, I've created every idiot in the world. So how do I, in a practical way, deal with that?
Yeah, good.
Basically, and kind of deploy it to your life.
Yeah. I think what Rob's saying is, and it happens to me every day, if I'm thinking of why did somebody say something mean to me, or why did somebody do something mean to me? I don't know why. People think I have the nicest cabin. I don't. It's a good cabin, but you got to walk to the outhouse, no matter how cold the weather is. And then you got to sit. You got to put your bottom on a cold seat, like in the winter. That one moment is true suffering. So anyway, so I walk, and I don't know why, but I remember my Buddhism out there. I don't know why, So somebody's giving me a hard time, and I'm grumpy, all the way to the outhouse, you know? I'm like grumpy, I'm like, "Arr." And then when I get that shock of the cold toilet seat, suddenly my mind clears, you know? And I'm like, they're coming from me, you know? And I'm like, they're coming from me, you know? And what Rob's saying is, I mean, that can be a very important time of the day. It's always an important time of the day, even if you don't have a cold seat. But the question is, what do you do with that? Because then you feel really bad. You know, Ukraine problem coming from me, Israel problem coming from me. It's overwhelming, you know, all these mean people coming from me. You know, it's like too much. Like, what do you do with that? How do you handle that? How can you sustain that thought for more than a few minutes? Because it's painful. It's really, really painful. And I agree, you know, for the first few seconds until it warms up, I feel clear, you know. Maybe it's the cold, but I'm clear. Like, I'm like, okay, this person who complained to me, they come from me. I understand that. And it makes my life easier for a minute. It makes my life easier. I say, okay, so I can fix things, you know. And mainly, I cannot blame them. And that freedom from blaming other people is so refreshing. It's so nice, you know. Like, okay, I can let go of disliking this person because it's coming from me. I can let go of that, you know. There's a moment of clarity on the cold seat, and then it gets overwhelming. It feels like, God, that means every mean person in the world is coming from me. All these murderers, all these people who bombing people, they're all coming from me. It's too much. It just feels like too much, you know. So I think what Rob's saying is, how do you deal with that? You know, how do you deal with that? And I think in my case, I try not to go there. I don't, I back off. I don't, at that moment, I don't try to take responsibility for 3 million assholes. It's too much. You know, I back off and I say, okay, don't go there. Is every bad person in this world coming from you? Yes. How does it feel? I feel really bad. Well, why don't we just stick to the one person, you know? Let's just work on the one person. So I think for Buddhist practice, don't try to solve the whole world at one time. It's too much. You're just gonna go crazy, you know? It's too much. Deal with the one person who irritates you and work on them, okay? And then the rest, just be like, I'll take care of you, the rest of you assholes later. I'm focusing on one today, you know, and just focus on that one person. And I think it's a practical way. The second one is much easier. The third one is almost effortless. You see what I mean? So start with one asshole and don't tell Veronica I used the word, okay? And then slowly, it's easier if you start with one and then do the rest. But if you feel guilty for all the bad people in the world, you're just gonna collapse. You're just gonna feel depressed, okay? You also don't forget you're required to do coffee meditation, you know? You also created every beautiful person in the world. And if you don't take credit for that, and if you don't give equal time to thinking about that, you have failed your Buddhism. It's not Buddhism anymore. Then it's just self-punishment, you know what I mean? Okay? So the contract with Lord Buddha is equal time, you know? Did you create all the assholes in the world? Yes. Did you create all the beautiful people in the world? Yes. Okay. You got to give it equal time. All right. Otherwise, you're not practicing, and it's very hard. Okay. Question.
Okay, if I will start with one asshole like me, yes, with myself, I understand that it's me, and I will start with from me. And I will understand that I did a lot of stuff. Let's say like dangerous stuff, it's don't paying taxes, you, like about confession, you don't go to IRS, yes, you do something else, you know, like, I mean like guiltiness, it's caused confession, correct? So you have to confess your sins, and you like, okay, I don't pay taxes, I'm not going to IRS and tell them this, because it's dangerous things, but okay, forget about this. I can do some charities, whatever. I can like think how I can return my taxes, different way. But what if I all the time feel guilty about being the worst mother in the world and raise my kids not right? Because I have to tell you, when you are a parent, number one, what you have for all entire life, guiltiness about you did a lot of mistakes since day one, minute your child was born. And I have 5 kids, and I'm always struggling because I have one child. It's my stepdaughter. I took my husband, he was a single father, and I delivered 4 kids. We always hate each other with my oldest one because she was the only child for her father, and I actually married him. And we still hate each other, and we cannot kind of go through it. My 4 kids, every day I see a lot of mistakes, and I always sit and crying hours in my car and ask how I can fix it. I cannot. It's done. It's gone. They eat fast food. They play Roblox at 11 p.m. and I hate this, you know. They don't go to shower and brushing their teeth and run to the school with no brushing teeth. And I text them, did you brush your teeth? Mom, I'm sorry, I was late to my bus. And, you know, actually, it's kind of like really this guiltiness, it goes to confession. Okay, I confess, but how can I fix it?
Okay. Here's a basic thing, okay? Here's the thing to remember. The best teachings are the short ones, right? The kid didn't brush their teeth and they went to the school. How did they go to the school? They have things attached to their body called legs. Okay? They have legs, all right? Why they have legs? Why they have legs? You gave them the legs, okay? You gave them the legs. We were talking about it in the parenting class. I believe the number's correct. The average expense of a kid in this state, which is one of the poorest states, is $30,000 a year. The average income in this state, not where I live, where I live is 25% below that, but it's $30,000. I'll say it again. The average expense to have a child in this state is $30,000 a year. The average income in the state of Arizona is $30,000 a year. It's impossible to be a parent, to be a mom, to be a dad in this state. Mathematically, it's impossible. You know, you are suffering. It's very, very, very difficult you can say my kid didn't brush their teeth, but who put the clothes on them? Why they have a body? You fed them, you know? How can you worry about their teeth? You gave them teeth, you know what I mean? Okay? And if you don't give equal time to thinking about you gave them the teeth, you paid for the toothbrush, they are sleeping in your house because you paid for the house, and you are working really hard, and it's a 20-year contract minimum, okay? I have a friend, she's 69 now. Their mom's still paying for her stuff, okay? So I mean 20 years if you're lucky. 69 years if you're not lucky, you know? And how can you say you're a bad mother? How can you say that? The body they have exists because of your sweat and your hard work, and you struggling to make some money, and they're alive, and they have a body, and okay, they go to the school with dirty teeth, but they got teeth, and they got a school, and they got a house to go to the school, and so I think you're being prejudiced. You're being prejudiced. You know, that's like, I don't like this person. His color is wrong. Skin color is wrong. You are prejudiced against yourself. You're prejudiced to yourself. You know? You're thinking about the 1% that brushing the teeth, and you're not thinking about the 99% of the teeth, you know. So they exist. They have a body because of you. And you gave them the first seed of their body. And you risk your life to have a child. I think you are prejudiced against yourself, okay? All right, equal rights. Okay, equal rights.